Mrs. Dawson.
No, only sometimes it is good to get the view of a person you respect.
I think he's a man with very strong views. On the law, for one. What it should be. And I can respect that. It's his certainty that worries me.
And beyond politics?
I think he's become an unhappy man. I'm not saying...
No, I know that, I know. Be simplistic indeed to explain a man's unhappiness solely in terms of his wife. Or his happiness. You see, if we'd had children... Now that was my fault.
Mrs. Dawson. You seem to be empty. Shall I get us another?
Yes, why not? Yes. Thank you.
In Oxford. I think we've got him, sir. Who? The man in the car, Hillian's killer.
Name's Frederick Redpath, age 58, owns a bookshop in London. When he was approached, he claimed he'd gone to the south coast for the day, said he wasn't anywhere near Oxford. Now have a look at this, Inspector.
What is it?
Piece on Charlie Hillian. Goes on about his OBE in some book he was writing.
Well, you had this on him?
Back of his wallet.
Where have you got him?
He's in the interview room, sir.
Your car was sighted outside the home of Charles Hillian, Mr. Redpath. Why did you lie to the police about that?
That was silly, I know. I was curious. I slowed down to see what was going on. And then I drove off.
You were a passerby?
Yes.
This was found in your wallet. It's an article about Charles Hillian.
I own a bookshop. I thought I might sell Mr. Hillian's book when it was published.
So you weren't just passing by?
Put that way, no. I heard about the Hillian death on the radio. I didn't want to become involved. I didn't know I'd been seen. It was a mistake, as I said.
Is it usual for a bookshop to approach an author directly?
No. I thought if I got in quick, I could steal a march on my competitors.
Had you been to the cottage before today, Mr. Redpath?
No. No, never.
We'll have to hold you for questioning, Mr. Redpath. Sergeant Lewis will inform you of your rights and ours. Could I borrow your shoes?
My shoes?
We made a cast of a footprint found at the cottage. We'd like to make a comparison.
think?
What do I think? I've never heard so many lies. It was like sitting through an election campaign.
Yeah, but maybe he's afraid to. Maybe he didn't want to get involved.
Maybe. I've seen him somewhere before, Lewis, and I can't think where.
I'd better take these.
Do it in the morning. If it is his print, let him sweat on it overnight.
Chief Inspector Morse.
Inspector Morse, my name's Barbara Redpath. You're holding my father here. Can I ask on what charge, please?
No charge as yet, Miss Redpath.
Then I demand that you release him immediately. He's done nothing. Nothing!
Well, then he has nothing.
Don't give me that bullshit, please! What you're saying is that he's innocent, but you're working on it, right?
Now, look here. I'm investigating the murder of a former policeman, Miss Redpath. Your father was seen at the victim's cottage, a fact he initially denied. Now, why should he do that, I ask myself. When I get an answer to that question, I let him go. Until then, he stays put. Good night, Miss Redpath. Mr. Majors? Yes? Chief Inspector Morse, Thames Valley CID. Can I have a word?
This way.
Have you moved here recently, Mr. Majors?
It does have that appearance, doesn't it, Inspector? It's part of an estate, you know. The family who own it are old aristocracy. Well, fag end of it, anyway. The last in line let me have a short lease on very generous terms. Fancied it made him some sort of patron, you see. That was 10 years ago.
And you grew to like the place?
No. I grew poor, Inspector. Too poor to live anywhere else. And since I've never felt fully at home, it seemed inappropriate to fully unpack. I'd ask you to excuse the mess, Chief Inspector, but that would imply exception. What you see is the rule. Oh, you're lucky to find me home. I've been in London, you see. Came home a day early, as it happens. Oh, Christ almighty. French. Fashionable, but badly put together.
Can I ask how long you've been away, Mr. Majors?
You can. I left the night Charlie Hillian departed this life.
You can prove your whereabouts.
If I have to. At the moment, I don't see the need. Am I a suspect?
You and the rest of the world, Mr. Majors.
Oh, what a deflationary way of putting it. All my life I've striven to rise above the mass, Inspector.
Had you known Hillian long?
About a year since we started our collaboration.
You don't seem too upset about his death.
Don't I? Well, I'm an instinctive optimist, Inspector. I believe in the resilience of the human spirit, looking on the bright side and all that.
There's a bright side to Hillian's murder.
At a conservative estimate, I'd say sales up by 10%.
Is that a fact?
Oh, I know what you're thinking, Chief Inspector. Charlie Hillian, the copper's copper, Paragon, OBE.
Tell me about the book.
Well, the great man's great cases, basically. An above-average pot boiler, if I do say so myself. He kept notes throughout his career, you know. The idea was one case equals one chapter. Have you impounded his notes?
Not yet. Hillian has no family. Who gets his royalties?
Happily, I do, Inspector. If I'd popped off first, he'd have gotten mine.
He didn't exactly pop off, did he?
I suppose not.
You'll think this a cliché, but don't leave town, will you?
Cliché, Inspector? Shouldn't be surprised if I write that down.
I'll see myself out, Mr. Majors.
Sit. Oh, Lewis, for me? No, for Sergeant in the meeting.
I see.
Sir, Redpath's shoe matched the cast perfectly.
Have you spoken to him?
Not about that, no.
Better get on with it, then, hadn't we?
Well, now? Now. Well, the teas will get cold.
I don't have any tea. Sergeant Lewis tells me that your shoe fits the cast we made at the cottage, Mr. Redpath. Fits it perfectly. Now, how could that be if, as you say, you were never there?
I don't know. I take a standard size. There must be millions. I don't know.
Mr. Redpath, perhaps you don't appreciate the seriousness of your position. An ex-policeman has been murdered, and you're a very strong suspect.
I've killed no one.
Then help us to prove that. Tell us the truth about why you went to visit Hillian. Your daughter.
Barbara's here. You've spoken to her?
Yes, and as you might expect, she's very upset.
You've spoken to her?
Yes.
I've told you everything, Inspector. I have nothing more to say.
Why hasn't he asked for a lawyer, Lewis?
Redpath?
Why hasn't his daughter brought him one? She seems the type that would.
Beats me. I'll explain his rights to it.
Listen, now I want to have a look at Hillian's notes. Find out what time Dawson's due back from London and meet him off the train, will you? I'm sure he'll want to get acquainted with Redpath and drink your tea before it gets cold.
Well, well. An inspector calls.
Mr. Majors.
Put up your truncheon, Inspector. All this is perfectly legal. The excellent Mrs. Keelan granted me access on condition that I close the door properly when I leave. Your arrival is indeed fortuitous. Timely.
Those are Hillian's notes?
In one. Brilliant. Though, to be precise, these are only some of the late Charlie's scratchings. There's a chapter missing, I'm happy to say. A chapter gone. Charlie Hillian may have been the cat's pajamas when it came to banging up the lawless, Inspector, but about the world of letters, he knew bugger all.
Mr. Majors.
Our dead sleuth had a most outlandish idea, Inspector, that we should include in our book a crime which had defied the very powers of detection we were meant to be celebrating. An honest approach, he called it. No. Even convinced our publisher. I told them, success. That's what people want to read about. They already know too much about failure, most of them. We argued, much bellowing to and fro. Then, honest Charlie Hillian threatened to scrap the whole idea if he didn't get his way. With his demise came the opportunity to do something about it, if you see what I mean.
No notes, no chapter.
Only I needn't have bothered, Inspector. The bloody thing's gone, and I view as a witness that I didn't take it. Now, isn't that wonderful?
What was the chapter about, Mr. Majors?
It was about a tragedy, Inspector. As dark as any. 17, 18 years ago. The murder of a child. She was, I believe, 8 years old. Her name was...
Mary Lapsley.
The very same, Inspector. You were involved.
Stupid. Stupid.
Non, mais je savais que je les avais sur moi à ce moment-là.
Where's Lewis?
He said I left them in the car.
Oh, he's gone to get Dawson.
Did he say when he'd be back?
He's gone to fetch Mr. Dawson off the London train, sir. Should be getting in about now.
Écoutez-moi, écoutez-moi.
Morse reckons he's been lying through his teeth since we brought him in.
And the footprint, is it a good match?
He could wear the cuffs and not know the difference. First he said he was just passing, then when we showed him the clipping, he changed his mind.
You know, don't you?
Morse, does he think he's the one?
What is this, Morse? What is this, you bastard?
What's wrong, sir?
You little toe rat, you bloody...
For God's sakes!
Dawson! Dawson, he didn't know! I didn't know till now. You kept us all away, remember? Remember! I didn't see him till the day he walked out of here. Now think, man! Right, hands off.
All right, back upstairs.
Sorry, Morse. The shock of seeing him there.
Your apology would be better directed to Sergeant Lewis, don't you think?
Will not be necessary.
You must let me talk to him, Morse. I know him better than anyone.
You can't, sir. You saw him just then. He's a bloody madman.
Lewis. Lay a finger on him and I'll finish you. Mary Lapsley. She was 8 years old, Lewis. 8 years old and pretty as... even in death.
What shall I call you?
My name is Frederick Redpath. It has been for the past 11 years.
Redpath knew her. She played with his daughter, visited his house. They had him in for a week. Hilly and Dawson. This place was electric. There was talk of excess, particularly from Dawson.
We're both too old for what we went through last time.
Yes.
She was in a